And I think that's the reason why I like martinis, because they're like, it's more alcohol
Yeah.
than any other. So if you want to get like a cocktail, because it's in the version of cocktails, right? If you want to get a cocktail, I usually always go for more of a martini type than anything else, because it's literally blended with just mostly alcohol.
More bang for your buck.
Yeah. You can taste it too. The good ones you can taste.
Yeah. And then you just hold that glass and you just like, I like when they fill it up to where you have to like scoot the glass to the end of the bar to like sip it. That's a good bartender. That's a good bartender. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
You can tell the one who drinks around here.
Welcome to Odd Pairing. I'm Paige and I'm with Natasha.
Yep.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Your Wednesday's a nice day.
I mean, especially, I think it went by a blur. I feel like I'm just gliding on a planet for no reason right now.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, just going through the motions. And then it was raining, so that just made it even more of like a suckier day.
Yep.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Today we had Rob Knopf, one of my closest friends from college at San Diego State. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs. Well, let's crack open our beers since we haven't done that yet. Natasha's sticking with wine today.
Yes, I'm doing, what is this called? Hold on, I got the bottle here. It is called Sonoma Cutter. I think that's what Zeke told me it was. Couture, yeah. That's it. There we go. And it's a rosé of Pinot Noir, which is my first time ever having.
Oh.
Because I never had a rosé
think?
Pinot Noir. It's good. It's really good. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So cheers. For being on.
Yes, thanks for having me.
We're drinking both AleSmith beers. So this is session 394 with Padres City Connect stuff, which turned out pretty.
That's right.
Slick.
And they're new colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is good. It's a nice session. It's just under 5%, so easy drinking beer.
Mm.
And Rob, you're drinking AleSmith.
AleSmith Double Up, West Coast style, double IPA. Also with a Tony Gwynn shout out, it looks like, when he was on the basketball team.
Yeah,
Pretty cool. Yeah. And I haven't tried it yet, so I guess this is the first sip.
What do you think?
It's good. I like it. I'm back on my. I'm not a super hazy fan, so it's nice when stuff is a classic West Coast style.
Yeah.
It's good. Not too hoppy, even though I do like them a little extra hoppy sometimes.
Bombs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a little intro on Rob before we get into everything. But
let's see what Rob's about.
Rob is the highly skilled and innovative creative director of Roberto's Media, a video production company based in San Diego. He's worked with a variety of San Diego brands like Taylor Guitars, SDSU, Coronado Brewing, and Ace Fitness. He's spent most or all of his adult life in San Diego and considers it home, where he enjoys riding bikes, drinking beer, watching live music, drinking beer, and visiting breweries to drink beer.
It's easy to
Beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ace Fitness. That's that personal training school, right?
Yeah, American Council on Exercise.
Yeah, that's where I actually got my. I mean, I know you guys can't tell, but I used to be a personal trainer back in the day. So that's where I got my certificate from.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not in that either, but yeah, we did a couple other training videos and talking to other friends in that field, and I didn't realize how big it was. Like everyone knows about it. You know, the fitness people are like, oh yeah, Ace.
Yeah.
So it is a big deal, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's a certification program?
Yeah.
They have several, and you could go all the way up to the highest that you can get in it too.
Yeah, it's like one of probably
they're
the top
like one of the
two.
top schools.
And it's based in San Diego?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
The headquarters is here.
I didn't know
Very
that. Because when I was taking it, I was way on the East Coast at the time.
Oh, really?
So.
Yeah, I think it's international, but yeah, they're right there on like near Balboa Avenue.
Oh, fun.
So super close. learned a lot about fitness. Yeah, it was a cool gig to have for sure.
Yeah. And you said you were just doing the videos for them in what capacity? Like,
yeah, a little bit of everything. We worked with them a couple years back where everyone just needed video for every aspect. You know, I think now people are a little more dialed in on the type of content and videos they want. But this was more of like a brand anthem we did once, a commercial, and then they started shifting to, which I don't know if they were doing it when you were involved with it, but the online training. So some online courses of just probably some of the stuff you read about, just the chapter in a video form.
Yeah, that
So
is
a little
what they
more
were doing.
tutorial based.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So a little bit of everything. We worked with them for a couple years.
Yeah, because I think when I got my personal training certificate, I want to say it was like 09.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this
like
was maybe
10.
like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was like 10, maybe 2010. I think is when I got mine. Yeah, because I was doing it hardcore. Yeah, that's why my knee fucked up. Because I maybe was too hardcore, but yeah.
We're gonna get into some few questions.
Okay, they didn't give them to me beforehand. Just
no, because we want you to come in authentically.
Okay, I love it.
You know, we want to ask you on the fly because we feel like that when we ask you things, when we ask anyone anything on the fly, it doesn't give you enough time to come up with a rehearsed.
Yes.
We want your real thought process on it.
Authentic
what you have.
self.
No,
and it's okay to pause. It's all right to
Cool.
pause. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and
you don't have to.
I do that with like testimonials too, because it's like sometimes you're so focused on that perfect answer I said in the mirror.
Exactly.
Like, what were the words? So.
Exactly. And this is a podcast.
Yep.
We talk shit on the podcast. You don't come on a podcast and give your most perfect answers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm ready.
Well, I think I already know the answer, but what is your favorite adult beverage? And why?
Obviously beer. I probably drink the most beer. I don't know. I think a lot of...
You drink the most beer?
I don't drink the most beer out of everyone. Beer is the beverage I drink the most.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, is there a competition?
I mean, I could probably keep up there. Keep up there for sure.
Yeah.
Clarifying.
Yeah.
But from beer, probably what's your favorite type?
As far as like the type of beer?
Yeah.
West Coast IPA. I feel it's something that I haven't really diverted from too much. Not a big stout fan. Light beers, not as much. I mean, there's a time and place for Mexican lager. Yes. I'm sure we'll get into that, but definitely drank a lot of Keystone Light and like the crappier beer realm for sure.
Yeah. The cheap beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It serves its purpose.
Yeah, chug it real fast and, you drink plenty of them.
Right. Because you can.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Beer has played like, kind of interesting to say, but a big part of my life as far as just, you go to college and the college lifestyle is, it was different than maybe my high school lifestyle. So there's a lot of beer. Yeah. I didn't even really drink in high school. Like I know some people were like, I used to drink since I was like in ninth grade.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't really. So
it
was a big jump when I moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of beer pong, so definitely played a lot of that. And then some of my first projects as a videographer, actually, do you remember I was working on a beer documentary? It was called Suds County, and it was as craft beer was becoming a thing.
That was like 2012-ish or so.
Yeah, probably a little earlier.
Yeah.
Craft beer was becoming a thing, and the guy that hired me was trying to tell the story like before that, because there's still some history of all the cool craft beer, and I was still drinking the cheap beer, and he's taking me on these events, and they're like, the actual main brewers that are like super huge now. They're like, try this, and my palate was not there, and so I had to kind of learn that.
Train it.
And and then just living in San Diego, you accidentally become a beer snob. It's just like, it's easy to become a beer snob, and so
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
And so I think there's something about beer that I think I like that it brings people together. It's so funny how you can nerd out with people about beer.
Oh,
Yeah.
The way like real craft beer guys. Sometimes I'm like, this is a little much for me, even, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the beer scene, the community about it, and then just it's so good. It's so delicious. I mean, yeah, that's probably why it's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I will dabble in some whiskey every now and then, and been known to order a gin martini, but usually craft beer.
Gin martini.
Yeah,
I would not have guessed a gin.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What whiskeys do you do?
I usually stick to the classics. If I'm doing a shot, maybe like a shot of Jameson,
Mm-hmm.
Bullet, and Makers occasionally. My wife and I will drink a lot of Four Roses.
Oh,
That's
I
a good
love
one.
Four Roses.
Yeah, it's good. So those are kind of my three main realm there.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have good taste.
So I'm gonna ask the next question. What do you think is the most overrated type of alcohol?
Oh, interesting. Overrated type of alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of stuff
That's popular and you like, it's not for me.
For me, I'm not a big cider fan personally. I don't know. I never
The
found
podcast is over. Take the mics off.
I haven't found one that I liked.
Which ones have you tried? Hold on. Let me see.
I guess I couldn't even name them. I've gone to a couple tasting rooms that are. I haven't tried the right one, I guess. Which is funny because that's what I used to tell people with beers. Like, oh, you just haven't found the right one.
Right.
There's so many options.
Yeah.
Cider just I haven't really found a kick for it. It still feels like juice to me. Where I don't know, something about beer, you can still tell you're drinking alcohol, you know? And like, I don't really like super sweet drinks like that. So I guess I get that feeling from cider.
Yeah, it could be like that. Cause I'm thinking of a few right now in my head. I'm like, yeah, they probably
sweet.
They probably a little sweet.
Yeah.
Angry Orchard, I feel like is not as sweet as the other ones. Like, what's that one? The red apple or
I don't know. Red's apple.
Reds, yeah. They are way too sweet.
Really?
Yeah. I've drank them before. And even though they are, it's like apple juice, basically. But it kind of made my head hurt.
Yeah.
It was like way too, it was way too sugary.
It reminds me of like what people used to try to drink like early college days. Like I remember Paulson used to drink Puckers. Do you remember Puckers?
Oh my God.
I think that was a mixer. This guy's drinking a mixer.
Yeah.
So, overly sweet is just not my flavor. So
ciders to me is like it's the rosé and it's the Moscato of wine. That's what ciders are because they're really, really sweet, but it still give you that kind of like you in the beer realm just because it's in a bottle in a can.
Yeah.
That looks like it. So you like, ooh, look at me, like having a beer, but you're really not. And it's the same thing with like Moscato, right?
Yeah.
Like Moscato is super sweet. But you're like, ooh, look at me having wine. You're like, okay, that's cute.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah. So yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that. Yeah. That could be what it is for an overrated. What do you think is the most underrated? What is like a hidden gem you think that people just need to know about?
I mean, I mentioned that gin martini. That's kind of been going up on my list.
I mean, gin is it anyway.
Yeah, he loves.
That's my number 2 spirit.
Really?
Gin make it sin. You know?
It's funny because it's like a nice change of pace when you're like drink so much beer. You're like, you know what sounds good? A gin and tonic. Those are always just like a good airport drink.
And it's something about having a gin martini in the airport that just make you seem luxury, like you about to get on a first class flight. But no one knows that when you order it at the bar. Can I get a gin martini, please? Extra olive, make it dirty.
Yep, dirty.
Yeah,
dirty.
you know, just yeah. So I
know it feels like it's the 1950s again, and you're flying.
Like a little Mad Men.
Yeah.
I have a question about martinis because I don't really drink them. If you get put because I also don't like olives. If you get it dirty, like, does it taste a lot like olives?
I think it's more olive like juice.
Yeah,
but like, I know it's olive juice. But is it still like, I don't know? Is it like a heavy flavor?
Yeah.
Oh, Okay.
You know, it's funny. I don't like olives that much either.
Oh, but you like dirty martinis.
Yeah.
That's what introduced me to eating
figure out.
olives
really?
was dirty martinis.
Oh. And when people make dirty martinis, it's green olives, right?
Yes. Not the black
olives.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be that'd be interesting to think about.
Black olive dirty martini.
Right. I think the green olives, because it's more of a pickled kind of like vinegary type base, is why it's used in that than more of the black one when it's not that. It's more of a juice. Yeah, it doesn't really have that kind of like tanginess to it.
The flavor.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And I love pickles.
Because I never ate olives until someone ordered me a martini.
But do you like black olives now too? Or
I eat them all.
You eat them all. Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Now, as a kid, you couldn't get me near an olive.
Yeah.
If I saw, because my dad would order those like the Supreme pizzas from places, and they have the olives on there, and I'd be like, we got to pick those off. So you see like my plate with like a pile of like black olives
totally
on the side, but now I eat them.
I never used to mind them on a pizza because it's like, oh, they're just surrounded in cheese and pepperoni.
There's a lot
but
of
then
those.
when people are just eating the olives just like straight up, I used to think that was crazy. But
Yeah, now
I get
I
it.
do.
I get it, but like I can only eat like maybe 1 or 2 olives.
Yeah.
Not like I haven't fully converted yet.
Oh no, I can eat them straight out the jar
You
now.
need to get some more dirty martinis in your system.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one to think of in terms of it being underrated.
It almost seems like too fancy of a drink sometimes, where it's like people don't maybe think of ordering it just like at any bar. But it's not.
I love it because, and I think that's the reason why I like martinis, because they're like, it's more alcohol.
Yeah.
Than any other. So if you want to get like a cocktail, because it's in the version of cocktails, right? If you want to get a cocktail, I usually always go for more of a martini type than anything else, because it has, it's literally blended with just mostly alcohol.
Or bang for your buck.
Yeah. You can taste it too. The good ones you can taste.
Yeah. And then you just hold that glass and you just like, I like when they fill it up to where you have to like scoot the glass to the end of the bar to like sip it. That's a good bartender. That's a good bartender. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
You can tell the one who drinks around here.
Going back to video, that's what you went to school for, was cinematography? What would you call it?
I wasn't really like everyone. I was 18. I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. And so I went to communications because it was broad enough. I knew I wanted to do something kind of in that realm, but wasn't really sure. And so
something creative.
Yeah. So when I started taking like multimedia classes for my mass communication requirements, some of them were like video editing, and I dabbled in video editing a little bit in high school when I was younger, but I never really thought I wanted to do that. And so so once I kind of started doing that, and it was also the time like YouTube was becoming a thing. This is maybe I'm dating myself, but
we all
it wasn't
dating all of us here.
It wasn't like it is now, where like, our parents know what YouTube is.
Yeah,
and
right.
Back then they're like, what are you doing?
Right.
Videos on the internet? What?
Yeah.
And
Who's
so
watching those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it all kind of came together just at the same time when I was able to create some cool videos, and then like YouTube was just becoming a normal thing in the world, and it all kind of like worked out, and I started getting like freelance jobs because people knew that's what I did. Before I even really knew what freelancing even was, I was like, hey, this guy's willing to pay me $100 to film him talking, and look at us now, so it's evolved a lot, but it just kind of everything fell together at the tail end of college for me. With like video production becoming like, okay, this is a real thing. It's a career that people do. And, and so this was before everyone had like a side hustle to try to make your own thing. So people didn't even really get what I was trying to do early on. And, especially like someone like my mom's like, what? Why don't you work somewhere with benefits? And like, 'cause this is what I'm passionate about.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, the video production thing, I think kind of came as I was just growing, my college career, and that's what college is for. So it kind of worked out good. And so I have different opinions on college these days. But for me, it was like I wouldn't have been where I'm at, if I didn't go to college.
What is your opinion on college? Let's just dive into it.
So like, if you know what you want to do, I think jump in and start doing that. I mean, I meet a lot of people that, are in the creative and like, production world now, that everyone is a content creator of some sort. And some young kids know that they want to do that.
Yeah.
And you can probably just watch a ton of YouTube videos and probably get pretty far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen some of these young kids and I'm like, whoa, like I need to hire this kid. Like I can't even do that,
Right.
Wow.
And so I think if you know that you want to do that, college may not necessarily be the route. Especially it's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're proving is you went somewhere for 4 years and you did an okay job, that your teachers passed you enough. And, if you want to work for someone, they see that and they're like, cool, he's probably going to do that here.
Yeah.
But not everyone works like that or thinks like that.
Yeah.
And so
I think we was the last generation that actually like took college serious.
Yeah.
In terms of going like all the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of instilled in us from like super young. Like, I didn't
Yeah,
know,
like, that was
I didn't
just
know
the
there was
route.
other options.
Yeah.
You're going to college after high school.
Exactly.
And the world is just so different, of course. And so, I've met kids that like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing if this is what you want to continue doing.
Because now they have side courses that you could take, or like little schools you can go to on the side that's way less than going to, that'll take you a year to do what you would have wasted your time doing for 4 years. Yeah, I believe,
like
I totally am with you on it. Because right now, school is starting to become too much money. I think that if you don't know what you want to do in life, then maybe go waste your money on that, or just go into the military. But I think that the only people who really should be like going to college and like actually spending that time there is people who want to have some type of law degree, or they want to be a doctor. Because you can't operate on me if you haven't been to school. You looked on YouTube on how to cut.
I took the 3-week course.
I need you to have a whole residency.
Yes.
Like I need that to happen. So I think that it's so much more opportunity now for when no one has to, like, it's chemists who are making these drinks that probably didn't go to college.
Yeah.
Chemists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
For
it's
sure.
like I don't think it's for
Not for everyone. There is
yeah.
something to be said, another factor, especially for me. There's a social aspect to college that I think is instrumental. You're becoming an adult. You're like learning how to be around maybe people you've never seen before, like other cultures, and just like cooking for yourself, Like I grew up in a Mexican household, and like the male doesn't really do too much. Like my mom cooked every meal.
Yeah.
So when you do it for yourself, like, oh man, I should have maybe paid a little more attention. That's something I have gotten better at, and I do enjoy cooking now. But things like that, and just like that is kind of an issue with kids today, the social aspect. They don't know how to interact with people.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why I still kind of like, in the back of my head, there's like, yeah, college is still a good choice, I think, for more than just, the education.
The academics part, but the social part is huge. Like,
I still think you can get that at if you like, let's say culinary school. You go there for a year. You still can get that social.
you can still get, but there is something about like living with your peers that you don't, like if you were going through a culinary program, you weren't necessarily like living in the dorm. Or where Rob and I met was an apartment complex that was like
All college
3 blocks from the campus, and it was all college kids. So it felt like an extension of the dorms, but dorms with no rules, because it was like mayhem. The penthouse apartment.
Yes. Penthouse apartment.
Not very penthouse. But it was like this extension. And so there's all these people who were going through a similar experience of like being away from home for the first time, learning how to cook, like just being responsible for yourself in a different way.
Yeah.
That, because I knew people who, like I had gone to high school with that went down to San Diego State, but didn't live in the area, and like they commuted, and that they had a totally different college experience because And, they didn't make as many friends at college because they were there for class and they didn't have that social element afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so like important and like a monumental part of my life when I was going to school that I don't think it's like you're saying, like it's still an important part of it all if you can do it.
Yeah, when I first moved down to San Diego.
If you're a social being.
It kind of forces you to
it kind of forces you out of your shell because everyone's coming from somewhere else and everyone's trying to, I just felt like everyone was trying to figure out what they were, who they are, what they're doing, how to make friends. Like I went to 2 schools. I went the same school from kindergarten to 8th grade and then 9th to 12th grade. And that was it. And I went to school with some kids from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So I never... Like, I had this staple group.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have to learn how to make friends because I always just had them from kindergarten. Kindergartners are really good at making friends.
Right.
And then, so, like, actually going to college and living in a dorm and forcing me to be around people, like you said, like, I may have never been around or didn't think that I would be friends with or, like, just learning to be around and forcing myself to put myself out there, even if I was like nervous about making new friends or being around new people. I don't know.
Well, when I first moved to San Diego, I kind of messed up the dorm application and I didn't know until about 2-3 weeks till we had to move down here. And so literally 2-3 weeks when they told us, because like all my other friends going to other schools and then some friends going to state, we're like, oh, I got my roommate's info and he's this and that. I was like, I haven't got any like contact. And so I called and they're like, oh, you're on the waiting list. You don't have a room here. And I was like, oh.
You don't have anywhere to live.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And so me and my mom drove down and we got the reader and just like circled all sorts of places. And we did like a tour for 2 days of, places to live anywhere from like, I almost lived with this like Korean grandma down in like Bankers Hill because it was like my mom obviously liked that aspect.
Yeah, of course. They can't be up to no foolishness in this house.
Yeah. I actually ended up moving to East County, and so I would have to commute. And the reason I chose that house is it was 2 younger guys. They were in their 20s. I was still 17 when I moved out here, and so it was a little bit of a culture shock. But I would commute to stay that first semester, and no one's really trying to hang out like after class. They're trying to get back to the dorms or their apartment, and so I didn't really make too many friends. And then the next semester I got into the dorms and I made lifelong friends. People that I still talk to today. Just because you're living with them and living with people is interesting. You just see every aspect of them.
Yeah.
And the rooms are tiny. They're like smaller than this room, So it's like, 2 people in this one room living.
Yeah.
So, the social aspect I think was huge for me, with that considered.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
I was just thinking of, when did you live in Palm Plaza? Was it?
That was after the dorms.
Oh, that was after the
dorms.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good spot. That was like...
Where's Palm Plaza?
It's like it's a cul-de-sac near San Diego State.
Oh, okay.
So a lot, like, literally this whole cul-de-sac was just college kids. And
it was all apartments. It was apartments.
Yeah.
A cul-de-sac of apartments.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, every, complex, 20, 30 apartments, 2 people apiece, and...
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, because people, I don't think, had, like, their own rooms, really. Like, everyone was
that
doubled
too.
up. So, like, 2-bedroom apartment, like, where we live, like, there was 4 of us living in our apartment, and it was a 2-bedroom. And so it was just, split, and they were the same.
Yes.
They were right across the hall from us. So.
Yeah, it was the same thing like that in the military. If you,
but there's
couldn't be
rules.
Huh?
Rules.
Not really.
No.
Nice.
No. On the ship is rules. Yes, of course. But if you're living out in the barracks, it's just like it would be if you was in a dorm. You know what I mean? It's the same thing, but you don't have like RA or nothing. There's nobody coming to tell you, nothing about what you can't do. Yeah. So it's kind of like a little bit like it, but not quite.
Yeah.
You still had your own autonomy of like where it just was way cheaper because you could afford to even roommate at the time. If you was like an E1, E2, you couldn't do any of that stuff. So once you got up, then that's when people started moving out and then doing the same thing of moving from the dorm, the barracks, to like an apartment and stacking up on each other. But yeah.
And I remember too, like going back to like the early, like now everybody's creating content, but you were in our friend group, you were the one always creating content, like with a video camera.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, drunk people really like a video camera.
They do.
They really do.
They do.
Yeah. We were just talking about it because I was going to look up some photos on Facebook from like back in the day. But I was the guy with the little point and shoot camera that posted the 300 photos from the night before. And I've since stopped, but that was me. Like I always had a camera on me, and even when I started taking like I took like a women's studies class, I think, or it was, like a sex ed class or something, where the teacher gave us free reign on everything, and so I chose sex and the college lifestyle because it was like, again, you're 18 years old for the first time and you can do whatever you want. And so I was interviewing people for just ask like a couple questions about their sexual education because apparently we have really crappy education about that. And now you can do whatever you want. And
because not only did we have parents who were scared to talk about it, but we also had teachers who were also the same age as our parents who were also scared to talk about it. But they was like, I got to put this tape on. So y'all watch this.
This is health.
If you have any questions.
And I feel like health
ask your mama.
Health was just like STDs.
Yeah.
It was. It was all that. When it should have been.
Tactics.
Yeah, it should have had just the whole psychology of sex. It should have been way expanded.
Definitely.
More than what it was. But I can't I give them a little grace on it because everyone was they were still taboo about their own sexuality during that time.
That's true.
So how are they gonna come and tell us about it? And thankfully the millennials, we were like, all right, enough is enough.
Like what's the big deal?
People gotta know. Yeah, people gotta know what it is. So we're educating our kids more now on like what sex really is and like how to be conscious of it and choosing wisely, you know, in order to be able to have someone for the rest of your life. So,
but also like health was just like the act of sex is what they talked about, not necessarily like relationship or like a healthy relationship. Like that's part of the psychology of it or any of that
and
stuff.
If you are a sex addict, what you need to do, where you need to go. Like no one was telling any of that.
It was like anatomy and STDs.
Yeah. And then you go out into the world and boom.
Yeah.
There it is. And you like, wait, I don't remember this in the video. That move you're doing, sir, I don't remember that in the video.
And then you add alcohol and you're like, oh.
Here it is. Exactly. Right.
And that's what that video.
Yeah, that was one of the questions was, you know, does alcohol play a factor in sex and the college lifestyle? And across the board, 100% yes. Obviously.
Yeah.
You know, you're going out, you're drinking an insane amount and, you know, dudes are trying to get laid, so are women, and there's just a lot of inhibitions are lowered, and there's pros and cons, I guess, to that.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting. I had hours of interviews.
You still find it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah. This is when YouTube wasn't accepting long form videos, so I had to put like 2 YouTube videos. I actually remember I watched it maybe like a year or so ago, and this is how old it was. I put my MySpace like website name at the end, as like my credits or whatever. But yeah, it was really interesting just because that was the same thing across the board, and some people were smart about it, and some people were not. But they knew alcohol played a part, and you know, it's just unfortunate.
But I think too that video, like when he did the interviews, were at parties when people were drunk.
Yes.
So people were very honest.
Yeah.
Which is even better.
Yeah. I stayed clear of the video.
Yeah, I don't think you made it.
I'm not in
There
it.
may be a shot of you in there dancing or something.
On a table,
actually.
yeah. But
On a table. Wait, why?
But other than that, I'll like get that camera out of here.
There was a few people that were not fans for sure, but most people were. They were really open and excited to chat about it.
I mean, it was research, so
yeah, like I'm helping Rob with his school project.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Our apartments could be.
What an easy project to have.
Yeah, it was awesome. I heard one of my buddies.
We have to go out tonight. It's for my project.
Yeah.
If I would have known about write-offs back then, I would have saved some receipts.
Right.
But even my buddy took the class a couple years later, and the teacher actually showed the video as like an example of what you could do, because it was different. Like some people made like a little board game, or she just didn't want us to write like an essay.
Yeah.
And so that happened to me in high school a couple times. I went to an arts high school, so they're always trying to push like creativity. And,
Right.
There's creativity in writing, of course, but if I had the opportunity to not write, I would do a video.
Yeah.
So it kind of came in line with how I used to do projects like that. And again, I was always carrying a camera anyway.
Yeah.
So it was a cool project. But yeah, it was. I learned a lot, like you said, in that research.
And then propelling you to where you are today, it was very easy probably for you to do interviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, how has it been being able to now tell stories of like these iconic, San Diego brands like Taylor Guitars or Coronado Brewing or Carl Strauss or some of these other large companies. That's from college party documentary. Like, how has that been?
It's awesome. I moved to San Diego on a whim. I actually wasn't even going to apply to San Diego State. I was set to go to Cal State Long Beach. And that was it. I was going to go there, and I was going to just continue doing. I went to my high school. I was doing a lot of visual arts, so drawing and painting, and that's what Long Beach is known for. And so that was what I was going to continue doing. And I applied to.
I remember your doodles.
Yeah. And I applied to I think like 2 or 3 schools, and my counselor was like, "Please, just one more." She really wanted me to apply to 6. I was like, "I'm going to Cal State Long Beach." Right. And so I looked at a paper and I was like, "Oh, San Diego, that's kind of close." And I just bubbled it in, and I didn't get into Long Beach. And the 2 other places were actually a little too close to home, so I was like, San Diego it is. Yeah. And I truly think it's America's finest city. I think it's heaven on earth. I've traveled a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
But there's nothing like San Diego.
Nothing.
And like, yeah, it's cool to be places, and you're like, I could maybe see myself, living in New York, or I don't know. I've been like out of the country as well, and something about San Diego, it really, the energy here is different. And so I love it here, and being able to kind of call that home. It makes me really proud to be able to work with these companies that are just San Diego staples.
Yeah.
And so people don't know that Taylor Guitars is based here. And yeah, it's right there, a huge factory in East County. So yeah, it makes me feel really proud to be able to do that. And full circle, we did 2 commercials a couple of years back for SDSU. And like, that was a really cool full circle moment for me to like, I still have the photo where it's like, the whole crew, I think there was like 15 of us. You remember it was like the I am SDSU, like those commercials?
Yeah.
And they played it like during like ESPN playoffs, and watching it. I actually don't even have like regular TV anymore, but seeing it on the bar, you're like, oh man, we made that.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. It's like, I don't know, it makes it feel like, cool, my decision, even though it's kind of almost made for me to move down here, but it just made it seem like it was the right decision. And so to be able to work with these people that even know who we are, because people would reach out to us. And so, yeah, it's humbling, and I'm very proud of that, to be able to work with just these giant San Diego companies.
I was going to say, like, why do you think those types of brands and stories have such a strong impact on the community? I mean, you have to really have a connection to the story to be able to tell it, to like have that type of impact.
I think all those companies that we're even talking about have that same mentality of being proud to be San Diego companies. And I think that's instilled either in their values or just kind of their company,
brand.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, especially beer, obviously, it's like we're in the mecca of it all, and so of course every brewery wants to be like a San Diego brewery.
Yep.
But I think it's that. I think it's they understand the importance of like a community, and San Diego is just an awesome one to be a part of because I think everyone's fairly genuine. I don't know, maybe there's people that the people I hang out with at least are pretty genuine. And I think that's kind of what I've seen across the board.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. Versus LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy because we're only an hour
I know.
and 45 minutes away, but it's a vast difference. Like, I love that San Diego's slower.
Yeah.
I love that everybody's just like laid back on kind of Hawaii time. Like, it'll get done when it get done. I mean, we'll do what we do it. And when you go to LA, it's like the glitz and glam and everybody's in a hurry and everybody's in a rush and you like, slow down.
Yeah. Everyone's on the move. Everyone's a little pretentious. Everyone's in like filmmaking out there too, which is like overwhelming.
Have you gone and done projects up in LA?
Yeah, a couple times here and there. It's definitely like slowed down through the years just because, I mean, you can throw a rock and hit a camera guy in LA, and so it slowed down. But when I started going after like more like agencies, it kind of would come as a package, either however that coordinated with the client. But yeah, few and far between lately. So yeah, but also I'm just not a huge fan of LA either.
Yeah, I mean, I was born there, so even when I go back, I do kind of get that like I'm in the city.
Yeah,
I'm in the city, LA, baby. Yep. And then it maybe after like 4 hours, and I'm like, all right, let me get back to San Diego because y'all rushing, and I ain't rushing nowhere.
Yeah. And even like the meetings, like I have meetings a lot of times. They're like, "What brewery are we having a meeting at?" Versus like in LA, you're having a meeting and the car ride to your next meeting.
Yeah.
It is. There's a reason it's like a machine the way it is for sure. But yeah, just early on when I graduated, there was a lot of talk of, "Oh, when are you going to LA?" It wasn't even a question. It was just when, because you're not going to be an hour and a half away from the biggest filmmaking capital, but I'm glad things have kind of like expanded as far as you don't have to be in LA to, create something, in the video space at least.
No. I mean, social media has proven that to us. People are doing it in freaking Utah.
Totally. Yeah.
Utah, of all places. People are like building up, some of the best stuff is coming out of there. So yeah, I totally agree that you don't have to be in those mecca places anymore to have the vibe.
Yeah, it's been cool to kind of level that out, because there's creative, cool, smart people everywhere.
Everywhere now.
And you don't have to do the big jump to LA.
No. Yeah. Okay. So let's go with this one. In what ways has alcohol impacted your life, and what changes have you noticed over time?
So I'm going to stay on the positive side, I guess.
I mean, we can go negative too. Me and Paige are very good at reframing. So even if you went negative, we can still make it seem like you just made the best decision of your life. Yeah.
Well, like I mentioned, some of my earliest gigs consistently have revolved around beer. With that documentary about Suds County. We met. Do you remember? You've probably heard of Quaff.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out with the dudes at Quaff before I even knew what that was.
It's a homebrew club.
Those are like
quality ale,
fermenters or something. I don't know.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well known. Very well known.
It's a really big brew.
It's all like the main brewers. It was like the dudes at Ballast Point, probably the dude from AleSmith, like all the big guys before, they had all. They're probably now business owners of like, they probably don't brew beer the way they do now.
Right.
And so that was a big part, or actually kind of like the producer of that film he was like an old school like 80s producer. And so working with him was cool to learn a lot of the way things used to be done. And I was kind of helping him learn the way things are kind of done now.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot from each other. I think that was a huge part for me, that documentary. And then we filmed, I used to do a lot of events once we kind of started doing my own thing. My old business partner used to work at 91X. And so we filmed a lot of like their like X Fest and a lot of their concerts. And having those, experiences helped us get beer festivals. And we have a few here every now and then. And so, the beer festivals just always wanted video. And I filmed a ton of those. And the cool thing about filming events is you kind of have to be a part of the event to really show off the experience there. And so, being your own boss is like, oh yeah, we can have a couple beers here and there.
Right.
And people love giving the camera guy beers and stuff. So it was a good gig.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always kind of had projects that somehow involve beer. I just finished a commercial for the Cone Restaurant Group, and it was for their barbecue restaurant, or a couple of their barbecue restaurants. A big focus was that they have 50
Local
taps.
craft beer.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's just like, it's what San Diego is known for. And so, you can't really get around it. Even the super corporate shoots where it's like maybe a brand anthem of some life science building in, Torrey Pines or whatever.
They're like, but we have craft beer.
They're like, but we have the happy hour area. We got to film that. 'Cause that's what people want to see. And look, we got the 3 craft beers there. So it's in a little bit of everything. And so, for me, it's like specifically, I guess, on work, it's been awesome to kind of be a part of that story. And it's a lot now. I get like going to the liquor store, I get overwhelmed at the amount of beers. Like, I'm not as knowledgeable, I guess, as I used to be. I kind of have the beers that I like and kind of stick to those. But it's been cool and then very I guess humbling to be able to be like, I know some of these old school brewers.
That connection.
And they were like celebrities for a little while. I mean, maybe they still are, but like, I remember people taking photos with,
totally
the breweries. I was like, oh, damn. It was really cool because everyone just knew the story. It was really cool to be able to, I guess, help tell
it. And be a part of it, like getting it out there, getting their story out there.
So that's definitely like work related. And then, I mean, it's just easy to be like, let's go to Fall. Fall Brewing is one of my favorites, and it's down the street from my house. And, it's just a cool meetup spot. And like I mentioned, that's what I like about beer, the community aspect.
Yeah. It's strong.
Yes.
Okay, so going back to college, is there anything you would have done differently?
Interesting. I'm sure.
Right.
It was, like I said, my high school was like an arts high school, and they focus a lot more on the creative side as opposed to maybe the academic side. And so when I got here, I really embodied the San Diego State lifestyle for sure. And
what is that lifestyle? Because I didn't go to San Diego State, so I don't know what the lifestyle is.
I mean, any story you heard about the partying and the drinking is true. It's literally like the movies. It felt like I somehow went into, Animal House. It was that. The frats are crazy. The frat life was crazy. The dorms were fun. I mean, I was thinking like your apartment compared to our apartment.
Oh, we were not the party apartment. They were.
Yeah. Where it's like,
which was fine because that means my apartment stayed clean.
Yeah, and ours was not.
It was a disaster.
We had our apartment was literally, our screen door faced the side door opening. And so when a whole apartment complex is partying and you happen to be partying as well, people would just come in and party.
Just walk in. Yeah.
And at that point, we didn't really care. And certain things would happen as far as like maybe getting like
in the living room,
stuff stolen or whatever, which is not good. But for the most part, people were just there to drink. You
left your slider door open all the time.
Yeah.
Even when you guys weren't there.
Yeah, we weren't very smart either. But it was just like literally consistent parties Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe even Sunday sometimes. And so it was a lot. It was definitely a lot. But the parties are really, really excessive sometimes. But yeah, like she said, we just had a ping pong table set at all times.
I remember
ready for beer pong at any point.
Into the apartment, and my mom was like, "Oh, look, your neighbors have a ping pong table." I was like, "Okay," I'm like,
Right.
Like that is not really used for ping pong, but that's okay.
Yeah, we played a little bit, but definitely more beer pong.
Yeah.
Definitely more beer pong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I guess just like I said, I didn't really party. Going from not really partying to multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So definitely some of my classes, I didn't do as good, especially the ones like you're saying that. Why am I even taking philosophy?
Right.
Like what? It took me a hard.
Who needs this?
Yeah, it took me a hard time to really understand philosophy. I had to retake that class. So maybe things like that. I do wish I guess there's a few classes I would have taken a little more seriously. But that's kind of part of it. I guess that's kind of what you're learning.
And this is going back to my thought process on going to college, right? That is not for everyone, and you can still be successful without passing all of your classes.
Yeah.
Totally.
You don't have to be on the dean's list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got a history degree, you don't need to be on the dean's list. I'm gonna put it that way.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing, focus on the history part and get out of there. Don't be trying to be an overachiever, and unless you like try to do like history
specific in something.
Like you're trying to
history.
you're trying to be the one who like goes out and you said, did you guys know that Jesus did this? This is what I dug up. Like if you're trying to be that person, then I can see you like trying to succeed. But if you're a person who just want to like, kind of maintain museums, or you want to just, you maybe want to write a history book, just focus on the history and knock it the fuck off.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it.
I think it gets, you got to get there.
You, just like you said, right? You have worked with all these amazing brands. And for you to be like, some classes, I ain't really do too well in. And it's okay because you still got your destiny and got to do the amazing things that you got to do.
Definitely.
Because your passion and your heart was in that.
Yeah.
It didn't, who gave a fuck about philosophy?
No one's ever asked me any of that since.
Never like,
even if
all of a sudden Socrates said, blah, blah, blah.
If I've seen a philosopher, I'm steering away because you're about to talk nonsense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, when you think about those particular things, I think that's why I feel like that for, especially when it comes to like college, universities and stuff like that, if you have a certain, being a doctor, right? Going back to that. If that's your goal, pay attention. All the way through.
Yeah.
Everything, pay attention. Even the math.
But I also
because if you're going to be prescribing medicine, you need to know numbers. I'm going to need you to be able to put this shit together.
Yeah.
And to know that certain, medications don't go together. But everything doesn't have to be taken serious. If you're just going to go for the college experience, go for the college experience. And parents also need to relax.
Yes.
On you.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. On you like going, and then you need to make sure all your grades are great.
Yep.
But I'm not doing geography. I don't give a shit about what the land is doing. I don't care if that the sea is eroding the rest of I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm only here because I wanted to be a writer. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So those particular.
But I think there is something about the experience of being not forced, but I guess forced to take things that you wouldn't have necessarily thought would be interesting. I mean, I did like, your general ed, you have to have like also like boxes checked of like different things. And I was like, oh, well, I've always like avoided religion and like blah, 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 like as a class, but I was like, I'll take this. And then I ended up becoming a religious studies major because I enjoyed it so much. But if I didn't have that obligation to like try other things outside of my degree, then I wouldn't have had that experience. So I think there is something to like being, encouraged or forced to take things that you think you may not be interested in, but then something might click and something might not, but you won't know that until you try it.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
only if you're not sure.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. If, like I said at first, if you're not sure, just go to college, figure it the fuck out, or go to the military and figure it out. I know for myself, I knew always I was going to do something with psychology. All the rest of that stuff was just pointless to me. So I'd be in there like, why? Do I need to check that box? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I act like it when I was in the class. I was like, I don't give a shit about this.
I'm like, can I take this one, pass or fail?
Right.
Right.
I was like, what is the bare minimum again? Okay, that's what I'm going to do because I don't care about this.
Yeah.
The only thing I care about is these particular subjects, and I excelled in them.
Yeah.
Like my teachers still talk about me today. You know what I mean? Like I excelled in those because that's what I wanted to do. But you
didn't. So you never had the experience of taking a class that wasn't psychology driven.
Oh, I
did.
You
ended up enjoying it though.
Oh no, none of those.
None of them. What about you? Did you
take classes that I didn't think
classes that
weren't mass communication driven, but you did.
Yeah, but you ended up taking them to check the box for general ed or whatever, and then you're like, oh, that was actually kind of cool. Or
I had a similar experience with like world religions. I think was the class for. Never really thought of that actually. Like whereas like I've never wasn't a church going person.
Yeah,
but it was like it was cool to learn about other religions.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do anything with it, obviously, but yeah.
Well, either I went and got a major, and I don't know anything with it either. Sociology and like religious studies major, double major, and I work in beer.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, my dad on my wedding day, remember, he was like still trying to figure out what she's gonna do with that sociology and major, but she did it. And I was like, did you really have to figure that out? I'm like, what?
Because he did. You want me to tell you why? Because he was hoping that think about that generation.
Yeah.
I send you to college, you're going to excel at what you went to college for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excelling in beer.
Yeah, in beer. Like you said.
He's proud of that.
Right.
But he's just like, religious studies and sociology. And I'm like, interested in people.
Right. Yeah. So, I have my thing.
It's a per person thing for sure, like you're saying. And because I didn't know exactly I wanted to do that till later on, and it took that molding of that college experience of, failing out of some classes. Oh shit, gotta retake this one, and then maybe I could take these for my major. Like, I found this other avenue, and it took me those couple years to actually really figure that out.
But also navigating, like we were talking about earlier, being on your own, being responsible. Like your mom's not like, did you do your homework?
Yeah, exactly.
Being responsible and accountable to yourself to show up for your classes every day and show up to for yourself and for your education instead of trying to do it for someone necessarily. And figuring out how to juggle, learning how to take care of yourself for the first time, really, without assistance.
Yeah. And learning from other people, just seeing the way other people studied, for example.
Oh,
you don't just wait till the night before and try to read everything? Oh, wow. You're going to the library now? What?
Yeah.
And so you kind of learn this is a responsible person.
and I think that's what I learned in terms of because I went to the military straight after high school. And so I had a totally different experience. And then I went to college after I got out of the military. And I was like, is this what people raving and hollering about? I don't like this. And I remember that even when I was in the military, learning different things, because you still have to study, because there's in the Navy, they make you take a test in order to get to the next pay grade. And so I remember thinking about that in terms of studying, because I went to school in Louisiana, which is Louisiana at that time was probably one of the lowest. It was it was probably 49 on education system, right? So I literally could wake up the next day and be like, got it. I just read the book once. All right.
Yeah.
I know that test's gonna be easy anyway. Let me go ahead and do this. I can do it half sleep. You know what I mean? So when I got to the military and I was like, oh shit, I actually studied for this.
Yeah.
How do you study?
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you guys studying? You know,
totally.
And I figured that out too when I went to college too, when I did my undergrad. It was only one class, and it was my statistics class.
Oh, I hate
And that was the only way
statistics.
you could stay in psychology. You had to pass
Really?
that one. Yeah, if you failed it,
Sociology was the same exact way.
they was going to
Oh,
send you to
damn.
something else.
Yeah.
So that was the only, I mean, I used to stay in, it was like me and a group of people. Shout out to them. I hope y'all, doing your thing now as well. But
and doing statistics.
right. and not, but in psychology, because we had to fight to be in that,
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I remember like 3 a.m. we were studying
Yeah.
because I was not great at math at all.
That's the worst class.
Same.
That's the only
Like
class I had to
at
take twice.
all. I think that accounting is the
that?
only thing
Yeah.
that when it comes to math that I'm good at, because that means it's my money.
Yeah.
I gotta count my money. If it's got a dollar sign in front of it, I know that math, okay? If it's a percentage off in a store, I know that math. But yeah, when it came to, I was like, oh my God, please tell me that I gotta do this. And
have you
now
used it?
having you, girl,
I know. It's the worst. It's the worst. I don't even know why it's like required.
like if I was going into psychology research, I probably would use it.
yeah.
But because I'm a therapist, and then even with my doctorate, it's still just therapy. It's still clinical. The statistics that I have to do is I'm reading it. Well, the statistics show, the experts
Somebody
say.
else
the
did
board.
read somebody else did it.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
gonna do that math?
Still don't have to do it. So I think that they should have made it optional still, and to be like, are you sure you're going to be a doctor? Because if you're going to go psychology route, you might want to do this class. But
I feel like statistics is in like every major.
Yeah, I remember
And
not liking it too.
I don't understand why. Maybe we need to.
and then my professor was an asshole. He was an asshole on top of that.
Yeah, not helpful.
Not
Yeah.
helpful at all.
Yeah,
it was
teachers
like a
are
class
big,
of like
big
100.
factor.
Yes.
Like the class you had to pass, it had the most students in it.
Yes.
So that means that you don't have no time with
Yes.
the teacher, and then the TAs
100%.
forget it. They're not even answering your emails. Okay?
100%.
Don't ask me how I know. But what I'm saying is, you can tell I get worked up over these people. But yeah, I think that
That makes it. That was a good lesson for me too when I was in college. Was the stats class was like a 200-person
Yep.
class, and I had always been good at math, and like I was like I never really had. I mean, I had to study and practice and stuff, but I never felt it was like a huge challenge. And then I took this class. It was 200 people, and I felt like intimidated by 200 people and like being the teacher being like accessible or not accessible. And I really struggled, and I ended up like not passing the class. And so the next time I took it and I made sure that I signed up for a class that was like 30 people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I don't do well.
Girl, no, I
In that
powered through
way,
that.
but I was just like, oh my God. And it was my
Thankfully-
first semester in college, and I was just like, what is happening? Is this college? Like, is every class gonna be like that?
Thankfully, my ex at the time, he was like out to sea. So he wasn't home for me to be like, yo, is dinner? Is we eating tonight, or where are you at? Because I literally was at school for that whole semester, every single night with that group of people. We became like the best of, I still talk to at least 2 of them today.
Nice.
But
Because it was, for one, why? You know what? When I get enough power, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to these schools and ask them, why, when you have a requirement course, you make it 5,000 people in the class? I don't understand.
And those are the easiest to skip out on because no one's going to notice.
No one's going to know if you're there or
They're
not.
not taking roll or anything,
But your religion study is like 10 people in there.
Yeah.
So they own you.
They know. And
You wasn't here. You wasn't here on Tuesday.
And you feel connected. And that was like a big lesson for me. Was like I learned better in smaller groups. So I learned, versus like these larger classes. And I was like, I don't do well in those types of situations. As far as like the way that my mind works and learns. But I had to experience that to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
True. I think that's the reason why when it came to like my master's and like all of that, me doing it online, I realized that I just wasn't set up for college. I wasn't set up to be in those classes. I don't give a shit about y'all. I'm just here to learn and get out of here and get that piece of paper that they trying to give me. And that's about it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're gonna do our drinking story.
Okay.
It could be a y'all.
It could be an our drinking story if you have one.
What you didn't get on camera? That's what I want to know.
I thought of the Super Bowl. I don't know if you remember that one.
I do.
I just came home like, I didn't think I was gonna even tell this story, but
You have more than one drinking story because this one's really short.
Yeah, just like came home wasted. I forget what Super Bowl it was, and then for whatever reason went into their apartment, and then I think Pat was trying to drag me out. My roommate was like trying to drag me out, and I was just like basically playing dead.
Yeah.
So we're like he's dragging me, and then just like my pants started coming off. And I'm just like, my old roommate was tiny, and so like he could barely move me. He like barely moved me, and then he just was like, all right, fuck it, and he left me there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like laying
Like the living room floor, like with his pants down and his butt out, and I was like, Pat, come back, please, get your roommate. I can't move him either, and I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
just drunk.
Yeah.
But so like I was saying, just crazy stuff like that. When you said we might have a drinking story, one thing I thought of was, do you remember when we all moved to Colwood? So we moved to this like community, which we didn't realize till we fully moved in that it was actually kind of like an elderly community.
Yeah, I was like, wasn't it a senior area?
It didn't say it on the signs, but every neighbor was like an elderly person.
How did y'all get in there?
I have no idea.
I was strict about that.
No idea. I'm sure they're all now student housing, I bet, but it was so close to the campus.
It's a cool spot.
Yeah, it was the biggest spot we ever had. Old school shag carpet. The mirror had like the gold kind of like,
yeah.
so things like that.
Old school,
I think intercom system everywhere.
It was classy.
Yeah, there's some class to it.
70s.
When we first moved in.
Right. Or when you first moved in.
And so it was like a house, like people were raising families, and it was a 1-story, I guess condo is what I would call it, but we didn't have like connecting touching walls with any of the neighbors. So it's kind of standalone. So it's like a house, and then, there's a dining room, but 3 dudes aren't going to get together and, have dinner together. We're probably playing video games or watching TV, eating dinner.
Do you wish that you guys would have?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that would have done per se. Like, I'm not saying we didn't eat together.
I'm going to say you still shared meals and that like they ate around the same time, but not necessarily around a table.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we turned the dining room into our beer pong room. And so we built the table. We were super proud of it, and literally just had a room dedicated to beer pong. And it was super cool to kind of have that. It got overwhelming sometimes when you're like, oh man, actually, believe it or not, I don't want to play beer pong right now. Or coming home from work, I used to work at the mall, so like, leaving work and getting home at like midnight, and then your house is just, there's a party going on. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
So there's like a few moments like that. Yeah. But it was a bonding experience building that table. None of us are really like handy. I'm shocked that we actually got it to work, but it was a super sturdy table, and we just had a beer pong room, and I always thought that was like a cool thing, because we definitely took advantage of it. We definitely played a lot there. Definitely have a lot of stories of just playing a ton of beer pong in there. I'm trying to think of when we lived across the hall. Some stories there. I don't want to say the light story. Remember, people, not me, allegedly. It was probably a shitty move, but everyone had the lights outside their apartments.
Oh, someone went and smashed
every
them.
weekend, someone would punch every single one, and you would wake up and then you look outside like, oh damn, and the whole hallway was just like crashed, like it wasn't glass. I think it was
No,
plastic.
it's plastic.
Like plastic encasing on like your front door light,
Yeah.
even though it was like inside. And so things like that, you just drunk people getting wild.
Like,
you're
why?
20 years old. It's like, why?
Yeah, it's just dumb.
Just because.
For
It's
them to
just
do it
dumb.
all the time.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like you obviously live here or you're here every weekend.
I wonder
Yeah.
what they do now as adults.
Yeah.
What are they
They're
doing?
in jail.
Gotta be. Or you know what? It might be an irony, and the universe made them start being a property manager.
Oh, I like that.
Huh?
And they're like, these damn kids always breaking these like. Oh, I think I know someone who did the same thing.
Yeah,
That's what I be hoping. I be hoping that people who do things like that the universe just
Something.
sets them up to where they literally get it back in.
I bet.
I mean, they probably make a lot of money too. They probably they're like regional. They're just over like all of these different apartment complexes, but they always got somebody who's like doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And they mad at it
That one
every
guy.
single week.
Yep. Hopefully, and I bet that is true.
Yeah. I hope that's what they're getting right now. So, where can people find you?
Yeah, so we have a website, Roberto's Media.
Okay.
The website is robertos.com, ROWLBERTOS.
Mm-hmm.
Paying homage to San Diego taco shops. My full name is Roberto,
Mm-hmm.
and my old business partner was Rolly. So we kind of combined our names. We built the company in San Diego, and a lot
Lights,
of
camera, tacos.
yeah, a lot of taco shop runs, and so that was kind of what we were trying to pay tribute to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Roberto's on social media, Roberto's Media. We're most active on Instagram and LinkedIn for those business professionals, those agency people. Hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are probably our main two. I kind of eased off on Facebook because I don't need my aunt liking all our stuff.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you have any projects coming out that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, actually, speaking, it's fitting holding a Tony Gwynn beer here. We just finished a commercial spot for HES Solar, and their spokesperson is actually Tony Gwynn Jr.
Oh, cool.
And so they wanted to, do something a little different. They didn't want to just have him kind of like in front of like solar panels or kind of being the classic spokesperson. So we made this awesome piece where he's like at the plate and he's like kind of facing off against a pitcher, and it's all about owning your own power. Because I guess I don't know if you guys are familiar with the solar industry. I guess there's a bunch of stuff happening with, how much you're going to get paid for selling your kilowatts back to the grid. So a lot of solar companies are doing like scare tactics of like, buy now, hurry, quick.
It's a wild thing.
Yeah, they're like, you need to do it before April 6th. Like,
Yes.
they're doing deadlines
Yeah.
and stuff.
Because that's when you'll stay grandfathered into the old pricing, I guess. And so
I was wondering about that.
So they wanted, their whole thing is like, hey, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Let's just move ahead of the problem and say we have the solution. And so it was awesome because you didn't have to be like other solar commercials where it's like super cheesy. Like, I'm a celebrity and I own these, so you should buy these too. And it's like, it's, a little bit of like an inspiring voiceover again about owning your own power. Obviously ends up like hitting a homer and and they bought airtime, so that's gonna be playing in between Padres games.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And
So it'll be like throughout the whole season or
Yep.
Cool.
yeah, so that's the project. I literally just wrapped up on Monday. So it's done, completed. That should be coming out after the April 15th deadline, so in the next couple weeks. And then that Cone Restaurant commercial for their barbecue spots. Also for airtime during the Padres game. So hopefully I'll catch it at a bar somewhere.
Yeah, right.
But those are our two most recent projects, and they're perfectly in line with, how I wanted to like take the company as far as the type of projects, short form, high production value.
Yeah.
And
See guys, don't worry about philosophy.
sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
good.
exciting.
Yeah, super, super stoked. And again, it's like the stars align for, you know, if you're intentional the way you want to grow something, it's cool when you see it like, oh, cool, I wasn't completely wrong, you know? So it feels good, and I'm super excited to, again, Cohen Restaurant Group is a big company here in town, and just keeping that kind of San Diego love going.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, I was super excited to be a part of this. So stoked to be on season 2 here.
Thank you. I think that'll be a wrap.
Yeah.
Odd Pairing signing out.
Thanks for listening and watching Odd Pairing. So please subscribe, like, rate,
and comment with your favorite drinking stories and curiosities about adult beverages. Cheers.
I'm going to happy hour. I'm driving.